Imagine being 6 years old, attending one of the most exclusive parties of the late 1990s, hosted by none other than Sean "Diddy" Combs himself. Celebrities in their finest all-white attire, flowing champagne, and the scent of weed hanging heavy in the air. The night is filled with glitz and glamour. Yet you, as a child, are left confused, disoriented, and more than a little uncomfortable. That's exactly the experience Justin Litovsky, now 30, recalls from a hot summer night in July 1999. At an age when most kids are playing with toys or watching cartoons, Justin found himself at the epicenter of a celebrity event known for its wild excesses. His story reveals a shocking perspective. What happens when a child is accidentally exposed to the adult world of drugs, alcohol, and celebrities gone wild? Now, decades later, as investigations into Diddy's infamous parties are underway, Justin's memories of that night are all the more chilling. For years, Diddy's all-white parties were considered the pinnacle of status and exclusivity. These were the kinds of events people would die to be invited to. Set against the backdrop of the Hamptons, where the rich and powerful mingled during the summers, Diddy's parties became legendary. There was something about the allure of white outfits, the serene seaside setting, and the promise of rubbing shoulders with the elite that made these events seem magical. The guest list read like a who's who of the entertainment industry. Stars like Jay-Z, Lil Kim, Tyson Beckford, and even fashion designers like Donna Karan were often in attendance. In the late 90s, attending one of Diddy's all-white parties was a badge of honor, a symbol that you had made it in the world of fame and fortune. But behind the perfectly curated photos and media coverage, rumors swirled about what really went on inside these exclusive gatherings. According to multiple sources, the parties weren't just about celebrities mingling. They were known for heavy drug use, late-night debauchery, and adult behavior that crossed the line. One such event would eventually leave an indelible mark on a young boy, Justin Litovsky. But in July 1999, something unexpected happened. Amidst the sea of models, actors, and musicians, a 6-year-old child, Justin, was invited to the party with his parents. His father, David Allen, was a photographer hired to capture the atmosphere of the event. Justin's mother, Maya Litovsky, decided to tag along, and they figured it would be a fun, glamorous night. But nothing could prepare them for what they were about to witness. Justin's presence at the party wasn't just unusual, it was unheard of. "I don't remember seeing one other child," Justin later recalled in an interview. Instead of laughing and playing, like most kids his age would, Justin found himself walking through a haze of marijuana smoke, surrounded by topless women, and witnessing behavior far beyond his years. In an environment that screamed luxury and indulgence, Justin stood out like a sore thumb. As he put it, "I remember a lot of weed and a bunch of topless women in the pool and around the pool." It wasn't just the topless women or the heavy drug use that left an impression on Justin. It was the sheer chaos of it all. The adults at the party seemed to have no regard for the fact that a child was present. And while his parents tried to make the best of the situation, the whole experience left a lasting mark on Justin's psyche. But why was a child allowed at such an event in the first place? How did his parents justify it? And how did it affect Justin, now that he can look back with adult eyes? These are the questions that loom large as we dive deeper into his unsettling experience at Diddy's infamous all-white party. Sean "Diddy" Combs' all-white parties weren't just any ordinary gatherings. They became an iconic event in the world of entertainment and high society. Picture a sprawling mansion in the Hamptons, a sea of celebrities, all dressed head to toe in white, sipping cocktails as they lounged around luxurious pools. The sheer exclusivity of these parties made them legendary. In fact, getting an invitation meant you had arrived in the upper echelons of fame and fortune. Attending these events were some of the biggest names in entertainment at the time. You had people like Jay-Z, who was establishing himself as a rap mogul, Lil Kim, always bringing her bold and daring fashion, and supermodel Tyson Beckford, known for his charm and presence. Designers like Donna Karan also made appearances, adding a touch of high fashion to the mix. The parties were a perfect blend of music, fashion, and Hollywood stardom. On the surface, These parties seemed like glamorous gatherings of the elite. But behind the scenes, there was a different kind of energy, a wild and reckless abandon. Drugs flowed as freely as the champagne, and the attendees often let go of all inhibitions. Diddy's all-white parties were known for pushing boundaries, blurring the line between luxury and debauchery. Guests would party until the sun came up, with the events becoming more notorious with each passing year. But, as with many things that seemed too good to be true, cracks began to show. Rumors of inappropriate behavior, heavy drug use, and wild sexual escapades began to surface. Now, with federal investigations into Diddy's activities, including charges of sex trafficking and racketeering, these parties are being re-examined in a much darker light. What was once a symbol of status is now a cautionary tale of excess and unchecked power. At just 6 years old, Justin Litovsky didn't fully understand the magnitude of the event he was attending. His parents, Maya Litovsky and David Allen, had taken him along for what they thought would be a glamorous evening. Justin's father, a professional photographer, was invited to capture the magic of the party, and his mother, curious about the celebrity scene, decided to tag along. To a child, being surrounded by famous faces and fancy cars probably seemed like a fantasy come true. I remember feeling a bit excited at first, Justin recalled. I knew it was something special, even if I didn't know who all the people were. But that initial excitement quickly turned to discomfort as Justin realized he was one of the only children at the event. I remember looking around and not seeing any other kids. That was strange for me because I was the kind of kid who always wanted to find someone to play with. As the night went on, the atmosphere at the party became less and less child-friendly. Justin began to notice things that didn't make sense to him at the time. There were topless women walking around, people smoking what I now know was weed, and just a lot of loud music and partying. He recalls seeing groups of adults in heated conversations, dancing suggestively, and acting in ways that made him feel out of place. Justin's parents tried to shield him from the chaos, but it was impossible to fully protect him from what was happening. My mom kept telling me to stay close to her, Justin shared, but I couldn't help but look around. Everything just felt really weird to me. For a 6-year-old, being at a party with celebrities might sound like a dream come true, but for Justin, it became overwhelming. The music was really loud, and there were so many people. It felt like the whole house was packed, he said. The sight of people openly smoking and drinking disturbed him. But what stood out the most were the topless women lounging by the pool and inside the house. I didn't know what to think, Justin said. I just knew it wasn't normal. His mother, Maya, was also taken aback by the wildness of the event. I remember there being bottles everywhere, and the women, some of them were completely naked, she told the New York Post in a later interview. I wasn't sure if this was appropriate or normal. I kept thinking, how did they allow kids at a party like this? Even though Justin didn't fully understand what was happening around him, he knew it wasn't right for a child to be there. There was this weird energy, he said. It didn't feel like a place for a kid. Everyone was focused on having fun, and I felt like I was invisible. Justin's memories of that night are still vivid. The smoke in the air, the flashing lights, and the general feeling that something was wrong. At one point, Justin's father asked him to pose for a picture with Diddy himself. I don't remember smiling much in that picture, Justin recalled. I just felt really uncomfortable. I didn't know why we were there. That photograph, which was later shown to Justin as an adult, captures the moment he now remembers as one of the strangest of his life. As an adult, Justin looks back on that night with a mix of confusion and frustration. I still don't understand why my parents thought it was okay to take me to a party like that, he said. I get that my dad was working, but it wasn't a place for a kid. He has since spoken to his parents about the experience, and while they regret taking him, the damage was already done. For Justin, that night was the beginning of a lifelong awareness of how chaotic and inappropriate the adult world could be. As the night went on, the party grew even wilder. Justin recalls seeing things that, at the time, made little sense to him, but would later come to symbolize the excess of Diddy's infamous all-white parties. I remember seeing a lot of weed being passed around, Justin said. It was everywhere. People were smoking like it was no big deal. To a child, the sight of adults engaging in such open drug use was confusing. I didn't know what it was at the time, Justin admitted. But I remember thinking it was strange that everyone seemed so relaxed, even though the party felt chaotic. Alcohol was another constant presence. Justin remembers seeing guests with bottles in their hands at all times. His mother, Maya, recalled the abundance of alcohol, saying there were bottles on every table, every counter. It was like the whole place was stocked for a nightclub. Justin would later realize that what he witnessed was part of a larger culture of indulgence, where excess was the rule, not the exception. But what stood out most in Justin's memory was the behavior of the women at the party. There were a lot of women, and many of them were topless, he said. Some were in the pool, some were just walking around. It didn't make sense to me at the time. I just knew it wasn't right. For a child, seeing such adult behavior was deeply unsettling. Justin remembered feeling a sense of confusion and discomfort as he watched the women interact with the male guests. They were acting so freely, like they didn't care who was watching, he said. I didn't understand it then, but now I see that it was just part of the whole scene. Although Justin didn't fully comprehend what he was seeing, he knew it wasn't a place for a kid. I didn't say much that night, Justin recalled. I just stayed close to my mom and tried not to look around too much. His mother, Maya, later admitted that she felt guilty for taking him to the party. Looking back, I know it was a mistake, she said. But at the time, we didn't realize how out of control things would get. One of the most bizarre moments for Justin came when he was asked to pose for a picture with Diddy himself. I remember feeling really uncomfortable, he said. It was late and I was tired and everything around me felt weird. The picture, which still exists today, shows Justin standing next to Diddy, his smile barely concealing his discomfort. I don't look like I have a normal smile in that pic, he said, alluding to how out of place he felt. The memories of that night have stayed with Justin for over 2 decades. I'll never forget it, he said. It was one of those things where you don't really know what's happening at the time, but when you look back, it makes more sense. Now, with all the things coming out about Diddy, I can't help but think about what else might have been going on at those parties. Justin's story is a window into a world most people never see. A world of excess, power, and questionable behavior behind the glitz and glamour of celebrity life. And while Justin was too young to fully understand it at the time, the impact of that night has stayed with him well into adulthood. In the years that followed, Diddy would go on to introduce a kid curfew at his parties. According to reports from the Daily Mail, this rule was put in place to prevent incidents like Justin's from happening again. Children were no longer allowed at Diddy's notoriously wild parties, especially as the parties became even more infamous for their adult-themed debauchery. Whether this curfew was a direct result of complaints from guests like Justin's parents or simply a move to protect Diddy's image is unclear. What is certain, however, is that after Justin's experience, Diddy's parties became increasingly closed off to families and focused more on the adult crowd. As the years went on, the allure of Diddy's all-white parties began to fade. By the early 2000s, the events no longer carried the same prestige they once did. And now, with Diddy facing serious legal charges, the infamous parties may have reached their final chapter. The allegations of sex trafficking and racketeering have cast a dark shadow over the legacy of these events, leading many to wonder how much of what happened behind closed doors will eventually come to light. Now, at 30 years old, Justin reflects on how that one night at Diddy's party shaped his understanding of the adult world. I think it made me realize how different the celebrity lifestyle is, he said. It's not all glamorous. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that most people don't see, and it's not always pretty. Justin's experience at the party has left him with a sense of caution about fame and fortune. It's easy to look at these celebrities and think they have perfect lives, he said. But after what I saw that night, I know that's not true. There's a lot of darkness behind the scenes, and I think people need to be aware of that. Justin's story is more than just a glimpse into one wild night at a party. It's a reminder of how easily the lines between public image and private behavior can be blurred in the world of fame. The glamorous images we see in the media don't always reflect the reality of what happens behind closed doors. For Justin, the experience was a wake-up call. It made me realize that just because someone is famous doesn't mean they're a good person, he said. And just because something looks glamorous on the surface doesn't mean there isn't something darker underneath. As Diddy faces federal charges, Justin's story takes on a new significance. The wild, excessive behavior that was once dismissed as just part of the celebrity lifestyle is now being scrutinized under a much harsher light. For Justin, it's a reminder of how important it is to question what's happening behind the scenes, whether in Hollywood or in any other sphere of power. The notorious all-white parties that once represented the height of glamour may be coming to an end, but the lessons learned from them about power, excess, and unchecked privilege will likely remain relevant for years to come. If you found Justin's story eye-opening, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more in-depth stories and celebrity insights. What do you think about the allegations against Diddy? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.